Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is True Crime Tuesday yet again, and today we will be talking about the mystery surrounding the suspicious and seemingly sinister death of the girl with the blue eyes. So if you're interested in hearing about this case, then please keep on watching. Raudha Athif was born on May 18, 1996 in the Maldives. Growing up, her parents already knew that she would someday do amazing things and live a very accomplished life. At the young age of 14, she even started an environmental campaign which was aired on Maldivian national television. However, she would only become known to the world in 2014, when she was photographed by a local photographer. The photo focused on Raudha's natural beauty and was appropriately captioned, "Maldivian Girl with the Blue Eyes." Now, this photo became viral, and obviously, everybody wanted to know who the blue-eyed girl was. She gained instant fame and was scouted by many different agencies. And although everyone around her was sure of the success that was going to follow her in the modeling industry, Raudha actually had something else planned. She saw modeling as something to do during her spare time because her main goal was to receive a proper education. Raudha's real dream was to become a medical professional. And after she had graduated from high school, she actually received a scholarship from the Islami Bank Medical College in Bangladesh. There, she spent her first 2 years of med school before deciding to transfer to Australia, where the rest of her family was living at the moment. However, before she could even fly off to Australia, Raudha was presented with an offer that even she could not refuse. Raudha was featured in the cover of Vogue India. In fact, she was the first ever Maldivian girl to be featured on a fashion magazine. This is when her Instagram started to blow up, but not entirely for good reasons. Now, despite having a lot of supporters, Raudha was also suddenly exposed to the negative side of fame. Along with the fans who adored her came the rise of people who opposed of what she was doing. And once this magazine dropped, Raudha received a ton of hate because of the revealing clothes that she was made to wear. Thinking that the backlash that she was currently receiving would soon simmer down on its own, Raudha decided to not think much of it and instead was laser focused on her studies, making sure that she had good grades in order to easily transfer to the med school she had her eyes on, the one in Australia. However, she would sadly never be able to fly off to Australia to reunite with her family, and she would never be able to fulfill her dream of becoming a doctor, because on March 29th, 2017, the then 21-year-old Raudha Athif was found dead, hanging from the ceiling fan of her own dorm room. Raudha's lifeless body was discovered when one of her school friends came to check up on her, finding the double doors of her dorm room locked. Now, this friend tried calling out to Raudha, however, there was nothing else but complete silence. Now, there was a small gap in between these two doors. However, that gap was big enough for her friend to see the horrific sight inside, making her scream and catch the attention of almost everyone on that floor. This friend, along with the other girls, tried their best to knock down these double doors, and once they were able to, they found Raudha hanging from the ceiling fan with a silk scarf tied around her neck. Once the authorities arrived, the scene as well as Raudha's body had already been tampered with. At this point, the scarf had already been cut down, and Raudha's body was laid down on the bed face up. Now, a few of her dorm mates were also inside the room, compromising what could be potential evidence should there have been foul play involved. And without even informing her parents of what just had happened, Raudha was then taken to the university hospital where a quick autopsy was performed. And without even investigating, authorities were quick to rule this as a suicide. But of course, her parents, who knew her the best, did not believe this narrative. According to her father, he had no reason to believe that Rhoda would want to end her own life, especially when she's got so much going on for her. She had a blossoming modeling career along with a promising future in the medical field. She was ecstatic to continue med school and reunite with her family in Australia. So why would she end her own life? And why do it now? Now, once her death became known to the public, the majority of people started to doubt the suicide narrative almost instantaneously, all suggesting that it seems like there was something much more sinister going on. Now, this whole case was wrapped with even more suspicion when more information on Rhoda's alleged suicide came to light. Although she was reported to have been discovered hanging from the ceiling fan in her dorm room, the police didn't really see that for themselves. Because as I have mentioned earlier, once the authorities arrived at the scene, Rhoda's body had already been cut down from the ceiling fan. Journalists also visited one of these dorm rooms, showing how flimsy and poorly installed these ceiling fans were, and proving that one of these could not possibly hold 55 kilograms of weight, which was how much Rhoda weighed during the time of her death. Now, another thing that would raise even more questions was the deep and abrasive cut found on her neck. Yes, she was allegedly found hanging. However, a silk scarf couldn't have possibly caused that intense of a wound. And it seemed like the actual cut found on Rhoda's neck would have been done with something more abrasive or rough and not as smooth and soft as a thin silk scarf. But once questioned, the so-called professionals who performed the autopsy stated that the dark pigmentation around her neck were actually birthmarks. Now, birthmarks, they're called birthmarks because you have them since birth, and of course, if she did have birthmarks, her parents would know about this. And of course, this is something that Rhoda's parents completely denied because, of course, they would know if their daughter had birthmarks in this area. And we've all seen her photos. She's a model. She doesn't have any birthmark on her neck. Aside from this, obvious signs of struggles were also found in the dorm room, like there was a huge crack on the glass tabletop and a shattered wall mirror. Even weirder, an unfinished cup of tea as well as a pot of curry that was still cooking on the stove were also found. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if she was planning on ending her life that day, why would she cook a pot of curry and not eat it and just leave it boiling? It seems very strange. Now, a lot of the girls who helped out with busting the door open repeatedly stated that they didn't see any signs of forced entry and that the dorm room was locked from the inside, which suggests that either this really could have been a suicide or that it wasn't and that there are no signs of forced entry because Rhoda knew her attacker. But who would do such a thing? And with what motive? The very next day after Rhoda's death, there was suspicious activity found on her Instagram account. Someone had logged in to her account only to unfollow 2 people, one of which was a girl named Sirat Parvin, Rhoda's best friend in med school. And as if it wasn't strange enough, Rhoda's Instagram account, which had thousands and thousands of followers, was suddenly deleted a few days later. Just as expected, Rhoda's family grew very suspicious of Sirat, but not only because of the weird circumstances that happened on Instagram, but because of something that Rhoda told her father a week prior to her death. She had actually complained of having sudden severe stomach pains, telling her father that she feared that it could have been Sirat who poisoned or spiked her juice. Now, suddenly putting all the pieces together, Rhoda's family requested for a reinvestigation, this time to be done by the Bangladesh Criminal Investigation Department instead of the university and local police. Raudha's body was then exhumed and another autopsy was performed. However, nothing really came out of this. Her death was still deemed a suicide. In addition to this, police also revealed that upon searching and examining Raudha's devices, they found an alleged text from a boyfriend saying that he wanted to end the relationship. However, the family did not believe this at all. And although the main person of interest was Zarat, there were still other theories and possible motives that surrounded this case. Now, it is also theorized that Raudha was also possibly murdered by domestic extremist groups local to Bangladesh. It was revealed that weeks before her passing, the university was actually raided by the authorities in belief that the school had ties with local terrorist groups. In fact, almost 30 students and faculty members were arrested in the process. Now, some believe that this could have been a possibility because of how widespread and popular Raudha's Vogue cover was. Now, people who believe in this theory say that appearing on this fashion magazine may have angered these extremist groups and found it disrespectful to their practices. Aside from this, it was also revealed that there was a rise in murders being covered up as suicides in Bangladesh. And at the center of this violence were models and young women who dared to provoke their traditions. Now, 5 years later, this case still remains unsolved, and sadly, it seems that we may never find out, or we may never truly know what really happened that day. And I guess that's where I'll end today's video. Thank you so much for listening to Raudha's story. I'll see you guys on my next video.